In our life, 1.4, Step 4, the game's epilogue was added. The voice name DLC currently doesn't work in Step 4. Will add in all the voice lines soon. There's a higher amount of save slots. The game now autosaves reportedly. Okay. Small additions to the script were implemented. Text outline. Let's make this bigger. Okay. There's no continue, so I'll make a new file. Welcome to our life, beginnings and always. There are various ways you can customize and interact with the game. This tutorial is an overview of how certain features work. You can read the full tutorial from the main menu to learn about everything in detail. To start off, the game is divided into 3 time periods called steps. Step 1, childhood. Step 1, adolescence. And Step 3, teenage. Our life is further divided into sets of vignettes that take place during specific periods of time. Those are called moments. Moments can be played in any order or skipped entirely. You move on to the next step whenever you want by selecting that summer is ending. Steps 1, 2, 3 include 5 moments each, and even more can be unlocked by purchasing DLCs. Some are out now, and other DLCs will release later on. A lot happens over the years that go by, especially in regard to the character you play as. You determine nearly everything about the main character: name, appearance, personality, pronouns, interests, skills, their relationship with major characters, and so on. You can decide to change the details as time goes on. With a few exceptions, your last name, skin tone, and eye color can be altered once set. Much of the main character's basic traits are determined on a character creation screen. As the main character grows up, more options become available on the screen. As mentioned, one of the decisions you'll get to make for your character is selecting a name. You can type in any name you like, or you can pick a preset name. Preset options are called voiced names because the name will be voiced aloud by the romantic lead. You'll get to hear him say your name as you play through the story. Only the default name, Jamie, is included in the base game. Hundreds more can be added by getting a free voice name expansion DLC. In the full collection of games names is separated out as a DLC because of how large it is. If you're not interested in that feature, you don't need to get it. Each name in the DLC belongs to or was selected by someone who supported this project. On the character creation screen, there's a cute doll you can decorate to get an idea of what your main character looks like and the different traits put together. Not all the things you decide about the main character appear on the doll. The script referencing what you've decided for the main character is the main way those decisions influence the game. Our Life has a first-person perspective, so your character doesn't appear next to other character sprites. You only see the main character as a decorative doll and in special cut in CG images. The cut in CGs only appear if certain choices are made. It's possible not to see any during a playthrough. There's also a second type of special main character based screen, the interest comfort screen. Unless you get DLCs, the game has one love interest, Cove Holden. He grows up with the main character, and the interest comfort screen is crucial for determining how that plays out. Interest level sets how much you like him. There are 4 levels: disinterest, fond, crush, and love. Love is only available starting in step 3, and if you were at fond or crush in step 2, comfort determines how you generally react, think when it comes to him. There are 3 levels: nervous, relaxed, and direct. Your level of interest and comfort will set the type of dynamic your character has with the love interest. What you did in the past will influence the present, and feelings can change over time. You get to pick your interest comfort near the beginning of every step. Comfort can switch between the 3 levels as you please. Your interest level can only stay the same or increase. Excuse me. Your current level of interest will become the new lowest option on the screen in the future. For example, if you decide to be fond in step 1, disinterest will not be available on the screen in step 2 and 3, which will make fond the bottom level option for your relationship. The interest level has an impact when it comes to physically interacting with Cove. While growing up, things are rather simple. If you get along with one another and have a close relationship, you can choose to touch him, and Cove will occasionally interact with the main character in lighthearted or comforting ways. But starting in step 3, touching can become more romantic or suggestive if you're at crush or love. To make sure things go nicely with that, there will be an extra choice to determine initiate level, and a bonus mini tutorial that goes along with the choice to explain the feature in more detail. Basically, even if you decide you like Cove, the game won't force you to act on these feelings. You can always choose not to get together with him, choose not to accept or give romantic gestures, etc. If you do decide to date Cove, though, you can't break up with him later. Interest comfort gets the basics down, but it's the choices that appear throughout the normal game events that decide what actually happens between the main character and Cove. And it isn't only the main character who is impacted by your decisions. Cove grows and changes over the years. How he's treated and what he experiences helps shape who he becomes. In step 2 and step 3, Cove's personality, appearance, and interests will vary based on what happened in the previous step. It's something of a mystery exactly how your decisions end up changing him. You can try to guess as you go along. Or if you prefer, you can also just design your own ideal Cove directly using the Cove Creator option that pops up at the beginning of steps 2 and 3. Making the choices you want is always more important than making a choice because you feel like you have to in order to get a certain result. When a choice does appear, usually you'll see that hovering the cursor over an option shows a certain color, yellow, blue, or green. The colors aren't related to specific points or effects. They're only there to give a bit of insight on the tone and motion of the choice, since text alone can potentially be read in more than one way. Blue tends to be casual, straightforward, yellow more emotive, reactive, and green less certain, uncommitted. Though there are hundreds of options in our life and not every choice menu falls in line with that pattern, picking just one color every time doesn't give a gameplay benefit. Only stick to a certain type if that's what you happen to like. Otherwise, switch between them freely. Always pick yellow. Never pick yellow. Pursue romance right from the start. Never romance the love interest. Be disagreeable or amiable. None of them will lead to a bad ending. You're welcome to enjoy the events and shape the story without reservation. And then, if you like, you can play again to try something new. There's only ever more good content to discover. True. We hope you'll have a nice time with our life. Thank you for playing. Bubble's nice. Peachy. Eye shape. I have green eyes. Smooth black hair.
Jamie.
I'll go with Jamie, I guess. That's cool. Pick a last name. How can you tell what your hand size is? Yes, slender. Can't even see your character. Okay, let's get into this. Summer at sunset bird was a special time of year. Your usually sleepy town began to bustle. It was a popular tourist destination with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung in the air, bringing 3 whole months of schoolless vacation with it. During the summer, your moms didn't like you to wander too far outside of your neighborhood, so you knew the area pretty well. That included the people. Families came and went from Sunset Bird, but they mostly stayed and did what your mom called putting down roots. They built businesses, they got to know each other, and they definitely said hello to the nice young kids who waved when passing their stores. Going for a walk around town mostly meant the familiar, friendly residents waved or asked how your family was, or most often just said hello. Didn't really get why they always had to say hi. They saw you every day, but you nodded back at them anyway. You ended up saying hi to a lot of different people, since most of the tourists that came and went every summer were the same ones. You were too anxious to say hi back to most of the other residents that greeted you, but they all knew you well enough to expect that. You ended up saying hi to a lot of different people, since most of the tourists that came and went every summer were the same ones. I'm gonna pick this one. You enjoyed learning all about where they were visiting from and hoped to visit those places one day too. But today there was a man sitting on the curb outside of your house. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and you wondered if he was even a real person or a statue that had magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Whoever or whatever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunset Bird was that people who you didn't recognize really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your moms called it. So, for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set off a lot of red flags. Your moms had a talk with you and your big sister, Lizzie, about this kind of situation before. You hadn't exactly been listening at the time. You think it could be okay to talk to new people. They mentioned that some people aren't good to talk to, but other types of people can help you even if you don't know them. You remember that it's okay to run away if you feel uncomfortable. You don't have to worry about being polite then. They mentioned that some people aren't good to talk to, but other types of people can help you even if you don't know them. You hadn't exactly been listening at the time. You think it could be okay to talk to new people. I'm gonna pick the yellow one. They mentioned some people aren't good to talk to, but other types of people can help you even if you don't know them. You weren't sure about this man yet. Still, you felt a bit scared knowing that he was blocking the way to your front door, but you were pretty interested. You wanted to know more about what was going on. Whether he was nice or not, you didn't want to bother him. You want to be bothered. But you were pretty interested. You wanted to know more about what was going on. Still, you felt a bit scared knowing that he was blocking the way to your front door, but you were pretty interested. You wanted to know more about what was going on. You slowed down, your eyes remaining fixed on the man. There was a split second where your eyes met and you knew he was aware he wasn't alone on the street anymore. Hey, you raised your eyebrows at the shout. Did he want something? Is that why he was here? The man stood up and started to make his way toward you. Not wanting to seem too approachable, you folded your arms and stared. Still unsure about him, but willing to be friendly, you offered the stranger a smile. Your whole body was frozen in place as he approached. Still unsure about him, but willing to be friendly, you offered a stranger a smile. Man gives a grin of his own back. Do you live around here? What's your name? You looked the man up and down, taking in his tanned skin and relaxed appearance. At least his clothes were relaxed. The way he was acting wasn't. He had sharks on his shorts and a stingray tattoo, and you wondered if he was obsessed with the ocean or something. While you made your assessment, he looked at you expectantly, waiting for an answer to his question. I live right here. My name is Jamie. Great. Nice to meet you, Jamie. He gave you a broad smile, relief settling on his face. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It crinkled in his hand as he held it up to you. Even more confused than before, you looked back at him. Well, could you do me a favor? Nothing bad. Sorry, I should have. Let me start over. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. From where you were standing, it just made him look creepier. I have a son. His name is Cove. who's about your age. Cove? That seemed like a strange name for an actual living person to you. You chewed on the inside of your cheek. This guy was definitely obsessed with water. You thought that was pretty cool. You never met anyone with that name. We moved in across the street, see? He gestured toward the house that had been empty for a year, his watch catching the late afternoon sunlight, reflecting off the walls. The gigantic for sale sign was finally gone. You must be Jamie Thompson, right? I met your moms earlier, and they told me you were 8, just like him, so... He shook the $20 bill to bring it back to your attention, a hopeful smile tilting his lips at the corners. Can you try to be friends with the boy? Just give it a chance and you can keep this. He's a good kid, you'll like him.
Do you mind?
But you've gotta keep it a secret too, okay? It wouldn't be friendly to say his dad sent you. You eyed the man. You kind of felt sorry for Cove. Did other kids really get their parents to pay for friendships? I'm gonna say you eyed the man. What could be so bad about this Cove kid that his dad would need to bribe strangers to be friends with him? What do you say? Want to make a deal? What if I don't take the money and I be friends with him anyways? Can I have that as an option? I don't want to be paid for that. It's too weird. He deflated enough to notice, but not completely.
Are you sure?
Are you sure? It won't be so bad, even if it's just for the summer. That'd be enough. That only made this sound more strange to you. Why does it lasting for the summer matter? When it was clear his initial strategy wasn't going to fly, he tucked the bill into a back pocket and changed the request. I get it, you don't have to. Would you be comfortable with he and I coming by for a normal visit? No money involved? Yeah, I want to meet him. His smile got bigger again. His eyes crinkled at the sides. I'll bring him by tomorrow. I wanted him to meet and greet with the neighbors today, but... well, I don't know where he's gotten off to. He laughed when he said that, but with the way his face looked, you thought he actually wanted to cry. If you see him, can you tell him to come on home? He's got a pink cast and glasses. You can't miss it. Sure thing. This definitely wasn't the normal way kids made friends. You knew that, but you were still going to help. The man smiled and reached out to pat you on the head. paused before doing so, then pulled his hand away instead. Your moms are already checking around for me. Such a thoughtful group you are. Now I better go look too. Can't put everyone else to work while I keep sitting here. I thought he might come back, and that's not what's important. I have to go. Thanks again, Jamie, so much. He jogged off down the street without another word. You decided to check the hills behind your house. Step 1. First sight. The chirping of crickets in the tall grass greeted you, quiet and familiar. From the top of the hill, you could see the ocean. As you walked, you listened to the crash of the waves on the shore and the seagulls squawking as they settled down for the night. You've always loved the ocean. It was so much fun. You loved to hear stories about the sea, about the merfolk and sea serpents you imagined living far beneath the waves. You didn't enjoy the beach all that much, especially the sand, which got absolutely everywhere. You love to hear stories about the sea. I like that one. About the merfolk and sea serpents you imagine living far beneath the waves. Sometimes you could almost convince yourself you had seen the flash of a shiny mermaid's tail in the distance. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to try to relax and couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you that you weren't alone, so you glanced around. There was a boy sitting at the top of one hill, almost completely hidden within the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. His head was buried in his knees, staring ahead by himself. Wow, this game is beautiful. The colors, the lighting. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling a little bit like you'd found a deer in the wild, though deer didn't have First thing I noticed was green hair. Green hair. But this new boy did. You watched as it fluttered softly around his face in the breeze. After a few more seconds, you took a step forward, then another, and then he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Are you lost? Hey, Space Cadet. Hi. I'm gonna be quirky. I'm gonna say, hey, Space Cadet. Hey, Space Cadet. With a start, he jumped to his feet, his hands balling into fists at his sides. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. He'd been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheeks and his knees, soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shining with a few more. You'd obviously caught him off guard. His pink cast seemed to glow in the twilight, though when he caught you staring at it, he hid his arm behind his back. Something the man earlier had said stuck out to you. Cove? Eyes wide, he studied you. How do you know that? I met your dad. Oh. So, is this your heel? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave if it is. You shook your head. While doing so, you also picked at a strand of lint on your leg. What a weird question to ask someone. Oh. He sat back down with a lump, resting his chin on his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad, you sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered this hill rocked back and forth gently as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers too. The night wind was cool as it traveled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Why are you here? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as soon as you asked the question, almost like they'd never stopped. His tears started up again with a vengeance. My parents, they don't want to live together with me anymore. The tears fell fast and heavy over his flushed cheeks, sticking in his dark lashes. My mom made my dad leave and he took me with him, and now we have a house here and I want to go home. The outburst took you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heaving with exhaustion. He sniffled and removed his glasses, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand before he put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. I'm sorry. You'll like it here. You just have to get used to it. I don't know if I should say I'm sorry or your dad seems kind of nice. Stop. I'm gonna say I'm sorry. Oh, that's too kind of cliche. I'm gonna say your dad seems... He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. It must be hard for Cove living here without his mom, but at least he still had a parent who cared about him. But from way off in the distance, you heard your parents. Jamie!
Cove?
Cove! Kids, where did you go? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell them we're here.
I want to go home.
I don't want to go back to that house. I want to go home. be okay. You were struck by a sudden need to reassure Cove. It's not gonna be all be fun. It's not gonna all be fun, but isn't he your family too? Yeah, I guess. Then you can count on him when you really, really need him. You shot him again and pushed yourself to your feet. Slowly, Cove stood up with you, still looking a little reluctant. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked toward the sound of his dad's voice, silent, then turned away while rubbing his not bandaged arm.
Sorry.
Sorry, I still don't want to go. He tried to convince him. Are you sure? You'd have to stay outside the whole night and sleep on wet grass. Before Cove could say anything else, you heard his dad's voice again, even closer than before. There you are, bud. The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all their eyes landed on you, and they rushed over. Both of your moms were at your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. Jamie, you're here after all. We had been at the park to check for Cove and then heard what happened earlier when you met the new neighbor. I thought you might have gone off further away. Okay, don't worry. Thank God you're both fine. Were you two having fun out here? He looked over at Cove. It was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. Yes, I like him. He nodded, smiling slightly. Finally letting go of his squirming, scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you.
That's a relief.
Thanks very much for finding him. I really don't know this neighborhood. Good thing Jamie knows this whole area so well. Absolutely, we should be getting home now. It's been a long day for us all. Say goodbye, Cove.
Bye.
The two of them walked off into the darkness, heading toward the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what, we'll have a proper play date tomorrow, okay? Your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? You nodded, ducking your head down. Sure, can I show him my stuff?
Of course.
Then okay. Both of your moms laughed, the sounds overlapping into a warm, familiar chorus. Mommy put her arm around your shoulder and led you towards the path. Satisfied and more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. This is how you feel towards Cove for this step. It can change in later steps. pick 2. Begin step 1 at direct fondness. You won't be able to change it again until step 2. At the breakfast table the next morning, you finished your food faster than usual. Your sister Lizzie had run out earlier to go play, but you stayed put. Today, just like your moms had promised, Cope was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again, Jamie? I like him.
How sweet.
I'm so happy he moved in.
Okay.
With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Your bowl was entirely empty, so you nodded. Good job. He should be here soon. Cleanup began, and then on cue, there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure they were in the right place. Still loud, though. We need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. Jamie, could you get that? Wiggling out of your chair without really pushing it back, you made your way to the door. Hey, Thompson family. Thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your moms have called him, and his son were here. Cope looked different in the bright lighting of your living room. And when he wasn't crying. With his dad standing in front of him, and Mom and Mommy behind you, you and Cope looked at each other. Pleased to see your new friend again, you smiled at Cope. He smiled back with some hesitation. You twisted the threaded bracelet on your wrist. You twisted the crystal bead bracelet on your wrist. You twisted the flower bead bracelet on your wrist. You twisted the shell bracelet on your wrist. Mom, we're going to play in my room. Your guest blinked, but didn't protest.
Okay. Take care.
Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids.
See you.
See you later, son. Play nice. You led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. There were lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. He leaned in a little closer to one of your drawers on the wall. I like this. I drew that. Cool. You smiled at him. You were proud of that particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed it. He turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the walls. You started to feel a bit nervous. You felt the atmosphere was kind of awkward. You were glad for the company. You hoped he liked your room. You were glad for the company. It was nice to have someone new to play with. Then his eyes landed on the tiny box of beach things you collected tucked away by your door. He took a step towards it before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach.
Oh.
Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box into the middle of the room, you and Co flopped down next to it. I do. Look. You gestured to a piece of at the bottom still covered with specks of sand.
Neat.
Neat. This is a good collection. You got the sense from the tone of his voice that he wasn't just saying it to be nice or to be like Shiloh. He actually meant it. I forgot about Shiloh. Shiloh? He's friends with my older sister, and he's supposed to hang out here this afternoon. Do I have to see him? You don't have to do anything, but he's going to be here. Anyway, I found this gigantic shell here stuck to an even bigger rock. You pulled out seashell after seashell, explaining where you'd gotten each one and holding them up against the light. There were big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange. Most of them you washed off in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. Over the past few years, you've even learned some of their scientific names. The collection was huge and varied, that you had lots of funny stories to tell for all of them. Your voice flattened a bit, but you kept going as best as you could. Past few years, you've even learned some of their scientific names. That one. You had a whole picture book dedicated to different shells and a sea life. You learned a lot by flipping through its pages. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Co listened with what looked like the full force of his intention. It was a new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus. But Cove hadn't been mean to you, so you didn't mind. You smiled at him every now and then, while showing him your collection. Kids, come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. You guessed it was because he thinks you found each other by accident, not that a parent made it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you'd both been escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room, ready for Shiloh's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Great. Bust it open. We can keep looking while we wait for Shiloh. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh. Like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this one is the best of them. That's my favorite too. Cole smiled at you and you both admired the shell together. It was a giant conch with shades of dark and light orange. If you held it to your ear, you could practically hear the ocean. I found that one last summer when we went to the beach on a picnic. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since the person hadn't knocked, you figured it was probably Shiloh. He knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. It's just Shiloh. And where would you even go? He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked onto the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it. Scrambling to think of something to say, you stepped forward, then paused. I'll come with you. Hurry! They'll see where we're going. He glanced back at you, then nodded. Two of you made your way to the window together. It wasn't much of a distance to clamber out, but by the time you landed gently in the bushes, you looked up to see that Cove was already taking off away from the house. He was fast, but you knew you could outrun him if you had to. He was not that fast. You knew you could outrun him if you had to. He was not that fast, but neither were you. At that speed, you weren't sure if you could go fast enough to reach him. Cove, you run as fast as your legs would take you, grass whipping around your ankles as you did so. Cautiously, Cove slowed to a halt and looked back at you. Where are you going? I don't know. Somewhere else? I just don't want to see. Jamie! You looked back and saw Shiloh huffing down the hill after you. The backpack he clutched bouncing all around along the way. What are you doing? Can I come? He must have seen you leaving out the window and followed behind.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Are you Cove?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Shiloh. Okay. Yep. Are we going back? Or are we gonna play outside? Shiloh's eyes moved between you and Cove. The smile remained strong on his face. It got a teeny frown from Cove in response. You were just grateful he hadn't asked why you had been running away. Inside, he left the box on the floor. My stuff. We need to get it before someone steps on it. With Shiloh trailing behind you and Cove headed back toward the house. The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much of anything else, especially if Cove was having fun. This is a scallop shell I found last week. I kept it because it looks neat. It's a pretty color, kinda like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look a little bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice color. Okay.
Oh?
Is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green or blue. It might be yellow. Oh, those are all cool.
I guess.
I like those colors too. There are better colors. Not sure how to deal with the suddenly more awkward silence. You look back at your shells. I like those colors too. Awesome. Both of them smiled. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favorite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know. Aw. Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach, probably. Is she playing at her park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looked towards you. There's a park? Yep, but it's old. Can you show me? I want to go. He started getting up before you had even answered, and Shiloh jumped up beside him in excitement. Really? You do, too, right, Jamie? The park is fun.
Yeah.
Park's pretty great. Yeah, it's right at the beach, so there's lots of fun stuff to do and lots of sand. It has a jungle gym and a bunch of swings. That sounds like it could be cool. So, are we going to find Lizzie? I don't know. I never really wanted to see her. I just wanted to check the park out. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Okay. He perked up. Both boys wanted to go. It was only fair. After getting permission from your moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your moms that it was so short, she should always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. Hey, Lizzie! Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. Jamie, Shiloh! Hi! She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud in the sand. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to the stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, but now Cope was here. You wondered if he would leave too. Who's that? Who's that? It's Cove. He's new.
Hi.
I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together. She gestured widely with her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wriggle your toes through the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. You are?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am. Who else could handle this job? Lizzie is the oldest. By a lot. My mom's said you're Jamie's age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thought so. I'm still the only one in this group with double digits. What about other kids? Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shiloh is just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth.
Oh.
For a second, it looked like he might cry again. But something in his eyes shifted and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people? Like moms and dads or grandparents? Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Stop saying stuff like that. You're gonna upset him. You interjected quickly, hoping Cove wouldn't start crying again. He sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was here and there. He went into his own head. Shiloh was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Jamie in school. You'll see tons of kids there once summer is over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Excuse me. Shiloh looked down to the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot too. All the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Shiloh's discomfort at how weird she thought Cove was, at something else entirely. You didn't really know, but she laughed, face scrunching up.
Okay.
Welcome to Sunset Bird, Cove. Take a seat, put your feet up, put up your feet, and get used to it. You offered him a small smile, and that, at least, looked to reassure him some. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days, when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way sun and lunch and the beach were. During your first summer together, you really liked Cove. He was a fun person to play with, and he seemed to like playing with you too. Of course, that was only the start of things. Step 1. I'm going to save there. That has been all for today. Thank you. I am DC Darkblood. Thank you for watching. Love you guys. Peace out.